Hi, my name is Scott Postma, and I'm delighted to have recently partnered with Roman Roads Media to teach Old Western culture. I'll be using the flipped classroom approach to teach the Greeks and the Romans through Roman Roads' online classroom. In another video, Jim Nance explains the flipped classroom approach, so if you're not familiar with the flipped classroom, I encourage you to watch that video. I'm often asked why I think it's important to study the classics, or as C.S. Lewis referred to it, Old Western culture. Usually the question is asked something like, what does it matter what a bunch of dead guys thought? Or isn't it dangerous for Christians to read pagan literature? I understand the concern. It's one that was shared by the early church father Tertullian, who famously asked the question, what does Athens have to do with Jerusalem? In the next minute or two, I'd like to offer a few compelling reasons for studying Old Western culture. First, studying Old Western culture teaches us to read texts of literature carefully, closely, and critically. Nearly every genre of literature in existence today was invented by the Greeks or the Romans. Plot structures, literary devices that are still in use today were foundational in works like Homer's Iliad and Oedipus Rex, and many others. For example, you may be familiar with expressions like in medias res and deus ex machina. These concepts came from the ancient literature that we'll be studying. By learning to read the text of Old Western culture closely, carefully, and critically, we enhance our ability to communicate well in both written and oral context. Another reason to study Old Western culture is because it gives us profound insights into the ancient Near Eastern cosmos, a world very unlike ours today, but extremely close to that we read about in the New Testament. It's amazing the way the scriptures open up to us when we have such a robust insight into the manners and customs of that day. A third reason for studying Old Western culture is that the Greeks were some of the first to write extensively about the human experience. They wrestled with important questions that we still wrestle with today, like what is death? What is life? What is the nature of the soul? What is love? What is noble? What is just? What is the nature of the cosmos? And what is the nature of human relationships? Studying Old Western culture allows us to engage this great conversation with some of the greatest writers and thinkers in history so that we can think critically about and cultivate answers to those perennial human questions. Lastly, because ideas have consequences, historians have long recognized that we cannot accurately understand the present without understanding the past. For so many centuries, both the form and content of education, politics, art, and even architecture were deeply rooted in the thinking of the ancient Greeks and Romans. We cannot fully appreciate the structure and trajectory of our own society without first having a comprehensive understanding of theirs. There's so much more for us to explore and consider, so I hope you'll join me this fall as we dive into these marvelous works of Greek and Roman literature of the Old Western culture.